So we have Shane Hartline is a multi-talented individual, proficient in acting, comedy, directing. He's originally from Florida, but he's currently based in LA. Living with a unique neurological condition that affects his speech, Shane's unwavering determination to share his stories and humor has not wavered. His personal experiences have fueled his passion for his craft and provide a unique perspective that resonates in his work. Shane is presently touring across the nation, entertaining audiences with his live comedy performances. Shane's persistence and hard work are evident in his impressive portfolio, which includes roles in Star Wars Obi-Wan, Rock of Ages, ABC's Station 19, where he played Maddox, from Station 23 for 12 episodes. We would like to give a warm welcome to Shane and thank you for joining the Fire Nurse today. We're excited to have you with us.
Well, I'm excited to be here. We did it finally. It's a long
Yes.
time coming. We've been trying to make this happen for quite some time, but this is when it was supposed to happen.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Let's see. Well, we'll get started on some questions. And usually what we do is
Cool.
we just kind of like ask the fans of the show for questions. And we have a lot, one in particular, her name's Lori, and she submits some really awesome questions. So a lot of these are hers. And then there's other various questions, but we'll
Sounds
get started
good.
on them. There's some good
Okay,
ones.
cool.
Okay, so you started your creative journey at the age of 10 with your parents' VHS camera. How did those early experiences shape your approach to your creative passions today?
Oh my gosh, what a fun question. It kind of, I think it shapes everything I do because I think I'm constantly seeking um joy. Like that was just the most joy I've ever had in creation. And you find, I think, like that with whatever you're doing, it's like you're seeking the joy that you, I think, initially found in something. And I think like that's even subconsciously what I'm trying to do. And you find sparks in it. And then when you find a lot of sparks in something you're creating, and that's when you're like, oh, this feels good. This is what I'm going to lean into. But I think truthfully, I don't know if that answers your question. I'm not good at really answering questions. But I think like, yeah, truthfully, I'm just like constantly, I think, seeking the joy that I had when I was just making home videos when I was a little kid. Like just I talk about it on my new podcast a little bit, but I'm constant, like when I was younger, there was nothing more entertaining to me than like shooting something and then immediately showing it to people, like whoever was at my parents' house. My parents were subjected to just so much stuff that I had to, hey, you have to watch this. Okay. Um, so that was like the thing that brought me the most joy back then. And it just blows my mind now. This is a whole tangent conversation, and then we'll wrap up this question. But like, it blows my mind now how that is just something that is so a part of our culture of like shooting content and making things and put like, look at this. This is such a cool thing we were able to do that I don't think people realize wasn't a real thing even 20 years ago. Like, so yeah, long-winded answer, but I think that somehow answers it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I love
Fun
that.
question.
I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
You've built an impressive portfolio with roles in Star Wars Obi-Wan, like we said, Rock of Ages, and Station 19. What have been some of your biggest lessons you've learned from working in such high-profile projects?
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from this business is it's an upward rising roller coaster in the sense of, when I got Station 19, I was like, okay, like this is it. Like this is like everything I've been like kind of working for and waiting for. And in many ways it was. But then that chapter ultimately came to an end for me. And then it's now continuing into new things. And that's sometimes the hardest part of this business is realizing there's no end. And that's not like, that might sound a little morbid or negative or like the work never ends, but I think like people have to realize that coming into this business is there will never be this, oh, I did it. I did it. I can rest easy now. The thing is complete. Once people realize what that is in reference to their journey, I think that they'll be able to appreciate this acting journey a lot more. At least I know I have. And the first big time I really ever experienced that to the extent that I did was after Station. Um, it was tough for me. I've spoke about this before on I think my podcast. I talk a lot about myself on my podcast. But one of the things that I had to experience that every actor will experience is that feeling of like camp is happening and you're not invited back to camp, but you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't break the rules. It's just like a creative decision. And it's a hard thing to like be like, oh yeah, this is a huge part of this business that everyone will experience at some point, hopefully. And not an easy part, but a part, it was growth. I needed to experience that. And that was the first time I've ever experienced that. So what I would tell anybody is like, that was one of the biggest things I've learned in this business is like, it is, it's work. It's a constant work at not only like your craft, but your emotional well-being. And there's so much that goes into it. So that was the first time I ever experienced it was after Station to that extent, because, oh man, I missed the camp. I missed it.
That's a
Yeah.
great visual way to put it. Lots of change always happening.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Okay, let's see. You've explored multiple creative outlets: wrestling, acting, directing, comedy, writing, to podcasting. How do you balance these different passions and what drives you to choose your projects?
Well, I never feel like I balance them very well. But I just try to listen as like hokey as it may sound. I try to listen to my heart and like, what is the thing that's drawing you at this point? Like I'm definitely the type of creator. Sometimes I can overthink things, but I think for the most part, I do pretty good at listening to like, all right, what do you want to do next? Like the next thing I'm doing a Scott Stapp Creed parody show at UCB here in Los Angeles on October 24th. And like, I don't know why I felt pulled to do that. I used to put up and produce a lot of shows out here, and it's been a while since I've done that. And the opportunity just kind of popped up and to put up something. And this was a ridiculous idea I came up with and with some friends. And so it's like, I try to just listen to what's pulling me, and I'm fortunate that I get to fully pursue this right now. And so I just try to the balance I try to find is balancing my schedule to make all these things possible. The things that take the most time lately are like the producing after we wrap and producing my podcast. And those things are pretty time consuming, but it's listening to your heart, but also not over burning yourself out so that the fun things don't turn into work. Like you always want to keep the fun projects fun. You don't want them to turn into like, I'm so exhausted. I just don't want to do this anymore. Because the moment you feel that about a creative pursuit, that's the first, it's the first sign that you're not going to probably do it that much longer. So if you start feeling those things in a podcast, in some type of creative pursuit, I would say probably any pursuit, I would really listen to it and like take a step back and assess it. And because that's telling you something, something you need to change, something you need to do different. So that's really how I try to approach all these things. What I wish was different about me is I wish that I could just have one thing that I wanted to do and like just go all in on it. But like, I want to do so much in this business. And fortunately, I think we're at a time in this business where that's not as frowned upon as it once but was before. Like, oh, you're an actor, but you want to wrestle too, or you're an actor and you make a pod. Like, it's like, I think now everyone's like, yeah, it's kind of like you can do all kinds of things. And so it's a great time for a creator like me, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great life advice right there, though.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. Speaking of social media, TikTok, you have surpassed 1 million. That's pretty amazing. What a huge accomplishment.
Thanks.
How do you approach creating the content for social media, and how has that impacted your career?
Yeah, the TikTok thing, like many, it kind of when I dove in the pandemic, and it was after much resistance to join a new platform because I was just like, I've done all these things. Like it just like I had videos over the years that would pop off and like do well, but not like it just I felt like I was kind of banging my head against the wall with content. And then like out of nowhere, just the TikTok really started to like pop off, and with like specifically these baby bodyguard videos I had shot years before, and I just re-released clips of them, and I was like, oh my God, like it kind of opened my mind at what TikTok could be. And so I had a lot of time, like many people did in the pandemic, and I just really leaned into it. And it just within like 2 years, I think we surpassed 1 million. And but it's amazing. And like, don't get me wrong, like I recognize that, but the hard part is not getting there. The hard part is like maintaining it after you get there. And and it's funny, like I have these numbers and I have videos that do well, but TikTok is so interesting. It's a platform that I think only favors your content that has done well before. So if you go on my TikTok, it's like I think sometimes if you look at my TikTok, and I feel like we're close enough now, so you'll know me well. You'll see who Shane Hartline really is. You'll see that he creatively wants to do so many things, but TikTok only favors like, oh, Shane, no, like we want the baby bodyguards. We want the Southern man. We want the couples videos. And like, I enjoy doing those things, but I'm like, as you know now, a creative person that wants to do all kinds of things, all kinds of characters, all kinds of projects. And TikTok is a platform that will, for most people, only push the things that keep people on their platform. So it's 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 also another like thing that has me, you have to approach TikTok a certain way. If you want to be successful on this platform, you really got to learn this platform. And that's just a part of it. But I've had so much fun with it. Like I feel like I go on these rants and I forget your initial question. So reel me back in if I go off. But like, um, what was the initial question? So I can button this.
Well, you're right. Know just how it's impacted your career.
Oh
You're
yeah. So we're in a business now where numbers are everything, unfortunately. So it has in probably ways that I haven't noticed, but in ways that I have noticed is I think it just like when I'm being pitched to agents, managers, projects, like I think some people probably see 1 million followers and 100K on Instagram and they're like, oh, but that just gets you a look. Your talent and your work have to walk you through the door. It might get me to the door, but like I think like you still have to put the work in. That's why like there's a lot of people in this industry now that like get a lot of opportunities very quickly because they're of their numbers and their social media presence, but people don't realize how much work I put in before to when that I got to that level. So it's like I admire the people that I've met um, through TikTok and stuff. I have people in mind, but I don't know if they want to be brought up, but they get a huge audience. But I see them behind the scenes going to acting classes, taking improv classes. They're putting in the work because that type of person realizes like there's more to it than just numbers. If they want longevity in this career, and that's my opinion. But some people, they just like blow up and they rest on their laurels, and you know, things can happen for them long term, one way, shape, or form, of course. But like, I really admire the people that can get an audience because it's not easy and still put in the work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a lot of station specific questions, so we're going to shift to that
I
stuff.
expected so. Let's do this.
Let's start with your journey in Shondaland. What was your audition process like for Maddox?
Dude, my audition process, I wish I could say it was more entertaining than it was, but this is it. And this is the wildest part of this business, or one of the wild parts, not the wildest. There's a lot of wild parts. One of the wildest parts is you can audition for something and not know what it will turn into, and it can completely change your life. And this was one of those cases. So I was like, this was 2021, and like we're coming out of the pandemic, things are starting to pick up again, and I was starting to get auditions again because it would have been a long time since I had, and I had just come off of shooting Star Wars, which I couldn't talk about to anybody. Um, and so there's a little bit of momentum, and you can feel it like energetically and spiritually. You can just like feel these times in your life when like, oh wow, something divine is really helping me out right now. And you can really feel those moments. And this was one of those. And this was just another audition of the many at the time I was very fortunate to get. And it was, okay, it's a co-star. It's a maybe 2 episodes, but definitely one line. And I'm like, I was at a point where I was like, I had to start being a little selective on certain auditions, and there was I almost turned down the audition just because I was like, not that I'm better than anything, but a time, it's all time. So it's like, all right, I need to prioritize certain things over another. But like, I literally, I've spoken about this before too. I didn't know anything about the show beforehand. Gabby, my wife, knew, she was freaking out. Huge fan, huge Shondaland fan, like Shonda Rhimes fan, everything. Knew about everybody on the show. And so maybe me not knowing much actually helped, but I went into the audition and it was the first scene I was in, it was like that dinner table scene, and like it kind of is this sweeping shot of all of us in Station 23 and we're eating. So I was like, you know what? Sometimes you just get the like impulse to just do and make ridiculous choices in your audition. So before I did it, I was like, hey babe, go get me like an apple. And I just ate a big mouthful of like apple and spoke through a obnoxiously big mouthful of food. The one line I had, and I booked it. And I think it was because probably I don't want to like speak for the casting directors. Um, but that was the essence of Maddox. Obnoxious, kind of like that they saw it and like, yeah, that's something he would do. So booked it, and it was yeah, I could dive in so much deeper, but it was just something that started as this like, I had no idea what it was, and it completely changed my life and ended up just turning into like they keep asking me back. And I was just like, it was a dream. It was really a dream. It was beautiful. But that was the beginning. That was how I like stepped into it.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Were there any standout memories or experiences from set that you would like to share with us?
So many. I mean, let's think of a couple real quick. I spoke on, I think it was my episode of After We Wrap when I spoke about it, the incident that happened on set, and there was like an incident where I like set off a truck siren, and I got into like an argument and an altercation with somebody, and then like Jaina like scooped in like a mother hen, and I felt, you know, it was like a very vulnerable state for someone like me, like wanting to not lose this job, this life-changing opportunity that was literally changing my life. So I didn't want to mess up. And I learned a lot so quickly in that moment, seeing Jaina defend me. Um, like I learned a lot about her. Like I learned a lot about how to handle yourself, and she defended me in such a way of grace, and not like I'm not saying she went in and was screaming. She defended me like a number one on a call sheet should defend their team, you know, and nobody should talk to anybody derogatory on a set. Nobody should talk down to anybody. Like the best sets work best when everybody speaks to everybody like they're on the same playing field, because they are. Like I've always, since day one, no matter what position I've been on set, because I've been everything. I've been behind the scenes. I've been a background actor. I've been number one on a call sheet. I've been, you know, co-star, guest star. I've been fortunate to be everything. But one thing I this is just me, like it goes down to things like, actors, you're higher on the call sheet, so go stand in front of background when you're in line for food. I'm not about that. You know, it's like little things like that. but there are instances where people have to, where they're like, I got to go work for a scene, or I got to go do this really quick. That's different. But like, there are some like hierarchy things on a set that I've never been a fan of and will never do, especially if it's a set I'm making or producing something. But I learned so much about how to, it's amazing how a quick moment like that, like, can teach you so much, because Jaina, number one on the call sheet, it was her show. And so her energy sets the tone for the whole set. And in that moment, it was like a split second of, this is not how this set's going to be. And everybody just like, whoop, yeah, it was like, that was one of the moments I'll never forget. And some other moments that like, that just come to mind, because I was kind of, this was the only question I was kind of preparing for. And so I was like going back through all of the amazing moments that we got to experience on set, because let me tell you, like, this was a rare set and everybody had such a good time. There was no, divas. There was no moments of like, it just, everybody was so cool and welcoming from day one. It's so rare that that happens. And I shouldn't say it's rare, but it's not the norm. But I gotta say, like, the episode where I did the Golden God scene, like, that was just a playground. And like they, I'm my acting, especially a big scene like that, my acting style is like, first take with a director, if we don't know each other, is kind of like testing the waters and seeing, like, are you liking this? Are you not liking this? What do you want different? So I went out the gate at 110 with that first take, and he was like, that was great. I'm like, oh, really? This is going to be an interesting day. And like, I wish I could see some of the like takes that they didn't use, because gosh, I just got to, like, I'm such a, I love attention. I love, like, that. I mean, anybody in this business that says they don't is lying. And I'm one of that few that very much admit they love attention. So that was just like, I felt like I was putting on a comedy show all day. Like, and this whole set and crew were all my audience members. That was a great day. And the last one I'll probably bring up that like is coming to mind, that was a mix of emotional, but also very fun, was one of the last days we had with 23, which it was like the bar scene where we were like celebrating, and then it turns kind of like dark when we see Jaina's character, or we find out Jaina's character was kind of behind the closing of 23. But that day was really emotional and then so much fun, because it was another one of those days where it's like, hey guys, party, dance, party, like, have fun, and so fun and emotional and all the things, But I could go on all day about, like, I think there was a moment probably in every episode I got to be a part of that was just like so fun. And going back to another thing before I wrap up this question, was like just shooting the little like 23 Bad Boys clips we would do like in between takes, because there's a lot of downtime on set, and I should take that downtime to like decompress, focus and on my work. But my brain was just like, let's play, let's make more. Like, as long as we're promoting the show, like, let's just keep going. Let's do silly shit. And pardon my language, but they just wanted like it. Everybody, as when we started making those, me and Sean, everybody kept wanting to hop in, and that's the best feeling, like, it's like everybody would come to me with ideas, and like, it was like a really, I think, a part that like helped me bond with everybody quicker maybe. But those were so much fun. I miss that too. That was really fun.
And the fans loved it too. So much
Yeah.
I think fans
For
of
sure.
the show thrive on all the BTS that they can get, like anything.
Of course.
So they're like,
yeah. If you're a fandom of anything, like getting to see how the what is the saying? How the sausage is made a little bit is so fun. Like, I totally get that.
Yeah, that was a good time. So your role, Maddox, you mentioned that his character, he was like known as like the
You can say it.
awkward one. I don't know.
No. What do you really want to say? What do you really want to say?
No, I went back and watched, and I actually think he was really funny. He was very obnoxious, but he was very funny. But
Oh, thank you so
how
much.
did you prepare for being that character? Like what does that look like? How did you prepare
Oh,
for
I
that?
prepared from 34 years of being obnoxious and no, it was just like the writing. The writing was so easy for me to be like, "Oh, I see who this is." And just I think with any character I've played, it's like finding that part within you and just kind of like cranking it up a bit. And luckily, which is not the case for many shows, what was great about um this working on this show is they were most of the time, unless it was a very serious moment, they were pretty open to what I brought to the table with my improv. And there was a lot of things that were a part of my scenes that weren't even scripted that I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm trying to think of one specific. Oh, I think there was one that the one that's coming to mind was there was many scenes where I got to eat cereal, which I was so stoked about.
That's what I was going to say. The
Um,
cereal scene.
there was the scene with Jaina where I was like, "Oh, you are so into me." I think I improv that, and they were like, "Oh, that is so fun." And so it was like that. That goes with like, all right, first take. I'm gonna like test a little thing, not going too overboard and not deviating
Mhm.
from the story or the script or anything like that, but just like seeing what I can get away with was so fun. Um, Within the bounds of, like I said, not going too crazy, but
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that was how I found him. That was, it was nothing like, some characters you have to put a lot of work into, and I can't say that I did with him because it was just like finding that little spark of him in me that I got to crank up. But the writing was just made it so easy.
Yeah.
Love that. Always love a good improv, and he did so good.
Mhm.
Yes. That line was
Yep.
so funny. Every time I watch
Thank
it, I
you.
will never not laugh at that line.
Thank you.
And then you were like handing the bowl of cereal to the probie that wasn't there. Like it just everything about it so funny.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's another fan question. How did your off-screen friendship with Jaina and Jay develop? And do you have any memorable interactions with any other cast members?
I could name a fun interaction with everybody, and I will. No, um, Jaina and I weirdly, I think we bonded. I shouldn't say weirdly. I think it was beautiful. We bonded so quickly, and I immediately when what I think also helped me about the show was again not knowing much about it. So, for
Mhm.
example, going into Star Wars, I was so nervous. Like I've told stories about how I literally, I'm not going to tell the story. You can go through like my content and find it, but almost died on the first day because I was so nervous. And I took this like calm magnesium powder thing incorrectly and I almost choked, whole thing. So I was very nervous because Star Wars and I know so much about it. And like working with Ewan McGregor, not just Ewan McGregor, freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi and Princess Leia, I was very nervous. But going into station, like, while I respect everybody equally, I didn't know Jaina. I didn't know these people. So it probably helped a little bit to just like day one of meeting Jaina, go up to her and be like, oh my God, my wife is Puerto Rican. Her last name is Ortiz. You guys should know each other. And then Jaina was like, maybe a little bit like, oh, this guy's very comfortable with me. He's not being weird. It's just like, he just wanted to connect. And literally from day one, Jane and I were like, I feel like cool. And then it grew over time. It grew with, making the little 23 Bad Boys content and just you spend so much time with people on a set, so much downtime that you have nothing to do but get to know these people. And so that's why it felt like camp. Like you really feel like not you really feel, you really get to know these people. Um, Going through like other people, Carlos, that's one dude that I got to bond with probably more than anybody. Such a nice guy. Um, Oak, getting to work with Oak like so briefly, like, but somebody that I, admired so much was like amazing. Trying to think of any like Gray's a nutcase and in the best way. And I loved like getting to spend the few bits of time that I got to with him. That was the thing that a lot of people didn't realize is like with 23, we were kind of secluded. So it was like me, Jaina, Carlos, Sean. And like that was kind of it was just us for a bit. And then so those moments where we would have like, oh, now I'm with everybody. It's like, now I get to know Jay a little bit more. Now I did get to meet Danielle. I didn't really get to meet or know Danielle until the episode I had that scene with her, you know, and that was many episodes into my little run on the show. But yeah, I spent obviously more time with the 23 station and really got to know those people. But that, going back, that was how I met Jaina. And you know, what's funny is, and I don't know, I don't think they care anymore. They're open about their relationship. I didn't know they were together for a very long time. Like they were very, as they should be, professional on set and didn't, you know, nobody knew. Nobody, they were not, not that anybody's just making out on set, but no, they weren't making out on set and giving any signs that they were in a relationship. They were business. They were very professional. So that was like, it was really cool to find out when I found out. But yeah, Jay, I'm trying to remember when Jay and when I felt like I really connected and bonded with Jay. Like, I think it was the Golden God episode because I got to improv a bit with him, and like there was that whole montage of me hugging Sean, you know, Sean Beckett's character, or Josh Randall's character, and what people don't realize is like that we got to, that was so much improv. Like, yeah, that sure there was silent over music and a montage, but there was so much improv that I wish people could have seen and heard from those montages. That like that's when I really felt like I bonded with Jay, because I broke him so many times. And I was like, I knew they weren't going to be using any of the audio, so I was like, this is my fun time to try to break these people, and it was such a good time. But yeah, I'm very lucky that I've been able to connect and bond and keep friendships, because that's another thing about this business is, much like camp, you spend a lot of time with people, but it's rare that you stay close with people after camp. But this was a different instance. Like I am very fortunate to still be pretty, you know, pretty tight with Jaina and Jay. It's cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
Cool. Let's see. Um, were you aware of the Save Station 19 fan campaign? And if so, what were your thoughts on the passion and dedication of the fan community in supporting the series?
Of course I was aware of it. I support it, and I still support it. Like I would love to see anything happen with the show. And I think anything really could. I think that I'll never understand how this business makes some of the decisions that they do. When something is so supported with such a dedicated fan base like this show, it's a very rare thing. Because we've seen shows come and go, and most of the time people are like, that was cool. No, what's the next thing? But to see like a dedicated fan base be like, we're never going to give up on the thing that we care about. And I think that's beautiful. I'm the same with like wrestling. Like, no matter what happens, I'll never give up on the characters I care about, or the, you know, the companies that I've invested time in. And but I think that it's amazing. I will always say that I think anything could happen, and I think something should. Like, why not? You have so much. I shouldn't, man, screw it. There's so much garbage out there. Like like, I'm not trying to downgrade anyone's art or anybody that puts time into anything, but I, as a consumer, don't understand how certain things get made. Like, you know, we see a lot of movies that get made with hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think like with streaming platforms, how can't Station 19 continue? You know, like how can't we find out? And I think put all of our focus into, where is Maddox? That's what people want. And, you know, I know that Maya, Karina, all these other people want to know what's happening with Maddox. And I'm telling you, I have a theory. He's pursuing a career in wrestling. There's a whole story yet to be told about him. Kidding, not kidding, kidding, not kidding. But I do think that why not Hulu? Come on. Like, if I'm very much like, my dad has run a business, whatever's best for business. And how can they not see that this is best for business? You know, that's just where I'm at. So keep doing it, keep supporting the show. Because trust me, like anything, if there's a loud enough cry. You know, it's gonna be undeniable at some point. They're not gonna be able to ignore it. So
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Great.
do have I have an idea how we find Maddox. Okay, we bring the show
Hashtag
back.
where's Maddox?
this
Yeah.
is what I'm here
We bring
for.
the show back,
Twitter.
right? And they go out because they get a call at a wrestling ring, and lo and behold, we have Maddox. And then now we have Maddox coming back and doing all of this other stuff. But that's how we find out what Maddox has been up
Dude,
to and
I'm
how he
already
got into
ahead of you.
wrestling.
I've already thought about this. I pitched this to some of the cast actually, and they thought it was great. Here, I'll go even further, more detail. The reason they go to the wrestling match is because he's wrestling for like a crappy independent wrestling company, and there is a pyrotechnics failure where there's a fire, and Maddox is kind of at blame, and that's how. I'm already ahead of you. I mean,
love it. I'm here.
hey, Hulu, ABC, Disney, do you want to make money? Like my boy here and I, we've got a good idea.
We got it. We've got
We
it.
got it. No, that's funny that you brought the wrestling thing up, because that was, you know, selfishly the first idea I had. Should Maddox ever be reintroduced? I thought that would be so fun. I mean,
It's like
Golden
you share the
God
same
should
brain.
be Golden God is a wrestling character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
That's what I was just going to ask. Is that would that be his character name?
It'd have to be. It'd have to be his
Yeah.
catchphrase. Yeah, I think it'd have to be.
And he'd always just tear it through his shirt every single time. Like
They wrote it. They wrote it. They already
Yeah.
set the stage. Like you know, we're just
Right
finishing
there.
the story. Yeah.
Right
Well,
there.
there's our next petition. We're gonna save Maddox.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll
we're
believe
gonna
that
get
when I
back.
see it. I know you guys. You guys don't care about
And-
Maddox. You guys are Maya, Karina, Jaina. I get it. But until I
No,
see
you
it, I'll
always
believe
gotta
it.
have a good, like, I don't want to call him a villain, but he's just the one that you like
No.
love to hate. at
Maddox
certain
was an
times,
asshole.
you know?
Maddox needed, but I think like what I think worked for the time that I was there, the character I was that I played was that like in a show with such heavy content, a show with such heavy themes, with such heavy stories, you need levity. And like those moments of levity, which I was very fortunate to get to provide, like I think that's why they work so much, is because like you can't go 60 minutes with just like, I'm just weeping. It's like you need a breath every now and then. You need like, okay, we hate him, but thank you for like giving us a little buffer into the next heavy thing. You know, I think that's why it worked for a second.
You always need a funny asshole.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, you know, they made us all love Beckett by the end of the series. So I mean, there's
Mhm.
always a redemption. I'm calling for redemption for him as well.
Yeah, Josh Randall, another great dude, like that I got to really connect with. Really good guy.
Yeah. You kind of touched on this, but how did you feel about the opportunity to be a part of a show that tracks so many important social issues and emotional storylines as well?
I didn't know half of what I was getting myself into until I was in it, and it was something I had yet to experience, and some that not a lot of people get to in this business, of like being a part of a project. Like, don't get me wrong, like I've got to do very cool things. Like Star Wars was a dream, but it's like Star Wars isn't like lifting up social issues. You know, it's like a show like this is doing more than I think even the creators and the networks realize. And I think it's just a testament to the fans that still support it. And getting to be a part of that was just something I'll never forget or take for granted. And yeah, I always I loved watching the show, but not only watching the show, watching the fan base's reaction of the show. Like that was always something so special to me, especially with heavy parts or something that was tapping into a social issue, or seeing how that affected people or lifted people's voices or made people feel seen or heard. Like that's beautiful. That's art on a trans I don't know, I lost the word I was looking for. That's an art on a whole nother level that you can't explain. It's like everybody can create art, but can you create art that like entertains, and not only entertains, like brings souls and energy into it and makes people feel lifted and heard and seen? Gosh, that's beautiful. but that all goes back to the writing and the performances. And isn't it such a beautiful symphony? Like when everything aligns like that, like it's rare. It's rare that it does. And while I understand, people are upset that the show ended, I'm one of those people. We've all seen so many shows that should have never ended after one season, and we got 7 seasons of something. Not saying that it is over or should be, but I think like always remember that as a fan. Like we don't always get that because this business, I'm personally experiencing like this crazy side of it. Like they don't care. Like there's so many people in those decision maker positions, not all of them, but so many people that are just about the money, or sometimes past that, not even about the money. There's like little reasons why things end that we'll never really know, but it could be the smallest thing. But the thing that's most maddening is like what these people don't realize, these like decision makers, is when you make that decision that based on a little thing, maybe it's like, I don't like this one person in this show. Like I'm into everything. That one little decision you've made has not only affected the lives and jobs of all the people on that show, but the fans that support it. Like they're going through a lot emotionally and will, because their thing was taken from them before the proper ending. Like, we got a beautiful ending. I was weeping watching the ending, but I think that there was still more story that needed to be told, because like most, when it's like another thing we need to realize that we're fortunate that we got with Station was not like just an abrupt post-season ending. Is like we knew the ending was coming and the writers got to, okay, this isn't what we wanted, but like, let's try to wrap this up in any kind of fashion. So there are some pros amongst the cons in this story,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I try to see those, it's tough sometimes.
They definitely gave us a beautiful ending with what they were given to do it with,
Yeah.
and the time constraints. I was like, you gave us enough closure to be like, okay, but you also left the door open
Yeah. I
for
think
what
that
could come.
that was probably a little intentional, because
Yeah.
while right now it's over, that doesn't mean it's over forever. I mean, we've seen shows come up 10 years after they've been, we've seen this happen time and time again. And, so I'll just say it again, don't give up on the thing that you're passionate about, like if this show is something you care about, keep supporting it, keep letting your voice be heard, because anything could happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of passion, let's talk about after we wrap.
Yeah.
How did you come up, how did you and Gabby, or was it just you, come up with the idea, and just how did it spearhead? Let's kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So for years, like I was trying to encourage Gabby to create a podcast, create something, because one of the hardest parts about this business is the in-between working jobs. And I'm always a proponent. If you don't have something creatively for those in-betweens, like you can go a little crazy, you can go a little mad, or you put too much pressure on the auditions that pop up because you need them so bad if you have nothing for the in-between. So I'm like, babe, we've got to find something for that in-between. And something like I've always told Gabby is like, hey, man, everybody that meets you loves you. Like, let's create some kind of platform where you can, like, people can really get to know you. And a podcast was always something I was kind of pushing. And we were in Puerto Rico after New Year's 2022. And like, I remember exactly where we were. We were walking down the street, and like, I just had this idea. I was like, oh my God, like what if, cause the hardest part of a podcast is not just like doing it, but like getting people to hear it, getting people to find out about it. And so I was like, oh my God, like you and Jaina are actresses, you're Puerto Rican, your last name's Ortiz. Like, gosh, wouldn't it be cool if like you and Jaina did a podcast? But it's like, we were both like, man, she's so busy. Like it'll never happen. And I was like, you know what? Like we're close enough. Let me just text her. And I'm definitely that type of person where it's like sometimes to my detriment, like I'll just like, if I have a thought or an impulse, I go for it immediately. So in that moment, I literally text Jane. I was like, what if you and Gabby did a podcast together? And she's like, replied immediately. And she's like, that sounds cool. Let's talk about it. And I'm like, oh, damn, like this could be a thing. And so, it turned into, we met up and we like bounced ideas, and that was January. We launched in, I think, May or June. So we spent all those months like, really preparing and doing all that what went in, or doing everything that went into launching it. But it's been something that, for me, truthfully, like the thing that brings me most joy from it is seeing Gabby, what she gets from it, and seeing her and Jaina grow in this kind of position of like, because Jaina's never had a podcast or like anything like this too. So it's like they've grown a lot. I mean, watch episode 1 to now, it's like they're literally different people in the sense of like just being able to conversate and like being able to like spit off and bounce off of each other. But they've grown such a great chemistry, and who knows what this show will evolve into, who knows what it will become. But right now, and what it has been, is something beautiful. And that, we always say, I've said it on, podcasts and stuff, that we're so lucky that like Jaina helped us build such a beautiful foundation for this thing, because that is such a hard part of creating, is getting people to find the thing you create now amongst all of the podcasts out there. So it's like, we have to give credit where credit's due. Jaina helped us get past that. And so, like I said, I don't want this to ever end. Like I like, we have such a great time shooting together. But I take it, one episode at a time. And my job as a producer is just to like keep the train moving, make it easy as possible for Jaina, with something that's so busy, especially right now with all these new beautiful changes that are starting to happen in her life. And so my job is just to make it as easy and as fun as possible. And that's what it is right now. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, any other questions about the podcast, I'd love to answer, but I feel like, I hope that answers your question of like
Yeah.
how it came to be. But yeah, like many things, it was just an idea. It was just an idea that is now a whole thing. It's creating an identity of its own, that we have so many ideas of what we want to do with it. And it's all just only truly going to be possible because of the fans of it. And like Station, like it got 7 seasons because of the fans. And yeah, again, we just want to do so much, but yeah, I really believe it's just the beginning, and who knows what it'll become.
Very exciting.
Let's see. Along with those lines, can you walk us through your process for planning and producing after a wrap? And what does a typical production day look like for you? And is it different from your own podcast?
It's very different from my content podcast, because I'm making the intentional choice with content to make it as easy of a process to produce as possible with as many things as I'm working on right now. But the thing with podcasts is consistency and quality is key. I think like, like I don't mean like production value. I think that's important, but I think what's more important is the quality of the, what are we talking about? If I think, as long as you're speaking about something you're passionate about and you're having fun in a podcast, that's the quality that I'm talking about. I think that if you're lucky to make things look nice and all the bells and whistles, that's great. But to me, that's not what's most important. But back to Station, like for me, I did want to make it something that within my means of the production gear that I have, make it as nice looking as possible, but also make it something that was quick and easy to make, because we started in my apartment, but we're now at Jaina's home. So it's like the process of like, I want to make this as easy for Jaina as possible. It's like, I work with my friend Kyle, and we get in and we set up as quick as possible. And the day usually looks like this: as we get in, we set up as quick as possible. We usually do a live stream for the after party on Patreon, and shout out to the after party. We then for me, I need to try to do 2 episodes back to back, because what people don't see behind the scenes is this is everything you're seeing that's posted, everything that's edited, every text, everything on the after party is me doing it. Obviously with Jaina and Gabby's input, and they're the content and they're the part of that, but like all of the technical stuff and the editing and the episode outlines and everything, like the Magic Mind sponsorships, all the little stuff is me. And it's a lot, but I'm enjoying doing it. And it's something that it's working. And so that there's also this excitement of your head just gets spinning of what this become. I have so many fun ideas, like, you know, peeling back the curtain of something like a dream idea for down the line for after we wrap is like Jane and Gabby are actresses. Who's to say we can't make our own movie eventually, produced under the After We Wrap umbrella, and make it whatever Jana and Gabby and whoever in that we've interviewed in our fun little family that we've made can be a part of it, you know, but really tell a story they want to tell. Like that's to me like a dream idea, but we have so many things that we want to do that's truly only possible because of the fans and the after party and all that. But yeah, production wise, that's what it looks like. Is we set up as quick as possible, 2 episodes, and then I break down as quick as possible because like I just want Jana to like I want it to be as easy for her as it can be. Because she's so busy and so grateful to give us again back to like Station. We're grateful to have had 7 seasons. I'm so grateful and will always be that Jana has given us almost 80 episodes of her time and her life, and that's beautiful. And, it's one of those things like it won't be forever, but I didn't expect it already to last this long. It's really beautiful,
Oh, that's amazing. And you spoke briefly about this, but how do you balance everything? How do you balance the podcast with other professional commitments and acting?
Yeah. How do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you do that? No, that's always just that's for me trial and error. Like I think everybody's different in the way that they structure their day and handle all of their responsibilities. How does a mother, have 3 kids and work and, a single mom? I just feel like I'm going into that Reba McEntire song. I was a mom who worked 2 jobs. But for real, how does a single mom have 3 kids, work a full-time job? Like I think what you have to do is, I'm not at all relating to a single mother with 3 kids. Oh my God, that sounded horrible. What I'm trying to say is I think every person has to find their own way of tackling their day. For me, what works is I use these little, like, I'll show you something that's a little life hack that's worked for me, might not work for everybody, but I have these things you can get them on Amazon. They're called time boxes. And it's a little like sheet that you can you do it in stages. So there's a brain dump. And every morning, what I do after I do my other morning routine is I dump everything in my brain onto this thing. And then I kind of structure my day into like a 30-minute increment breakdown of what my day looks like. And for me, if I can see my day and I can see what are my priorities today, like it's almost like it's a little bit of a game. It's a little bit of like, all right, let's see how much of this we can do. And then giving yourself grace if you need to move some things from that day to the next day. But I think it's like anything. Whatever works for one person might not work for the next person. But I'm at age 37, still trying to find that perfect thing. But who knows if I ever will. And you also kind of just got to listen to your heart and be kind to yourself. If you're like, I don't want to do anything today, and that's okay. I think we're in a culture of this like hustle culture, and you got to be doing so much that we forget that, oh, we're doing too much. We're doing too much. And especially in the entertainment business is sometimes I'm like, oh man, give yourself grace if you need to not make or create today,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you still gotta have fun and relax too.
I do try.
Are you a trend follower or trendsetter?
Oh my God. I will definitely. Okay, here's an example. If I'm making like couples content with Gabby, we could all day just follow the trends and like lean into what's popular, but I get so icked by just like the same people doing the same trends over and over with content specifically. So this probably will answer your question in a roundabout type way, but the video that Gabby and I did of like, I'm married to a Puerto Rican woman, of course, blah, 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 blah. I knew that trend was popular, but I couldn't do it exactly how it was done. I think anything that it's popular. It's like, yeah, I'll take advantage of that, but I gotta make it my way. I gotta like, I gotta like, put my spin on it, or it just feels icky to me.
Mhm.
But I don't know if that answers. So probably right in the middle. Like I think, to be very literal in this business, you kind of have to follow trends to an extent, but I think the trends setters had to break that a bit and create their own thing. So what becomes the trends are the trendsetters. So it's like this evolving cycle, you know, that you kind of need everything. Like the movies that sell are because people are following trends, but then those, like, there was a Ghostbusters 1 and there was nothing like it before, and you know, now we're at Ghostbusters 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. Like, so it's like, you know, you have to also take a jump and try something different too, I think. And I tried to, you know.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see. We have a question, another fan question from Sophie. She's from Ireland, and she wanted to know if you had a chance to visit Ireland and delve into your Irish heritage. And she says, as I know it was something Gabby mentioned when she answered my question earlier in the year about after the rap. So she's asking about you've been able to do all of that.
Have I been able to go to Ireland? Is that the question?
And-
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
and
I haven't yet, but it is definitely one of the places that I am aching to go to. We were trying to make it happen for the honeymoon, but you know, just realistically, like, going to one country is a whole thing. A different country is one thing, but like in the span of the time that we were going to have for our honeymoon, to hit 3 countries, it just became a little too difficult. And so we're like, let's just enjoy Italy and get the most out of it. And it was such a good time. But yeah, Ireland is definitely on my bucket list. I also want to go to Tokyo. Tokyo's like at the top of my bucket list at this point.
I love Tokyo. It's probably one of my favorite places I've ever been.
Oh, you've been? That's awesome.
I have. I have. We
That's
went a few years
great.
ago.
Oh, so cool. So cool.
So along the lines of Italy, I'm sure you experienced some amazing food. What are some of your favorite dishes? Like, not just from Italy, but what's your favorite food? We love food. We love to talk about it.
Oh yeah, I love food too, clearly. I mean, I love so much food. I think, like, I love Mexican, I love pizza, I love Italian. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, if, like, what is my favorite dish? Like, I mean, I'm a sucker for pizza. Like, it's always, you know, my treat meal throughout the week. Like, I'm just like, okay, you've worked hard this week, quote unquote. You deserve this pizza, Shane. Like, you know, whatever. So I think I'd always will go back to pizza as my favorite kind of dish or food.
The question is pineapple on pizza or no pineapple?
Oh, no pineapple on pizza. Oh, no pineapple on pizza. It's disgusting.
Stefania would be very
Honestly,
proud of you.
can I be real? I've never really, I think maybe I've tried it, but I don't know that I really have given pineapple on pizza a shot. It's the thought of it. It's the, like, the thought of the sweet with the yeah, I don't know. I need to probably give it a better chance. So definitely not knocking that if I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. But yeah.
That's funny. Okay, are we moving on to the fun question list?
These are already fun though.
Questions.
What are you talking about?
Oh, these are real
Oh, we
fun.
have even more.
Let's do it.
Do you have a favorite TV show that you're watching now?
That I'm currently watching. Um, you know, I was fortunate to be invited to this Peacock show called Teacup, and I'm a huge horror fan. But this show, it's so simple but so creepy, and we only saw 2 episodes, and it's you know, it's hard for me with, like, my ADHD brain, not diagnosed, but I just feel like I have it sometimes. Like, but you know, like, it's very hard for me to focus and pay attention to anything. So it's hard for me to start a show because my brain is like, yeah, but you could be doing all these other fun things, Shane. So I have to sometimes be forced to watch things at a movie theater or like a premiere. But this show was really cool, and I can't wait to keep watching it. And I'm not just saying that because they invited me to the premiere and gave me free Halloween Horror Nights tickets. I'm not saying that for that reason. That might be a part
But
of
it is a
but
perk.
It was a part.
mean,
No, but it was a really fun show, and that's the only thing I'm currently kind of watching. Uh, is there anything else? I am forgetting something that I did start. There's so many shows that I do want to watch that I haven't. I want to watch English Teacher. I haven't watched that yet. Um, so many that I want to watch
Yeah.
that I haven't. But always my gut wants to go back to like my favorite TV show, which is Breaking Bad. I want to watch Breaking Bad over and over. I've watched it like 5 times completely through, um, which is insane. But I'm a little insane.
It's okay.
I
We like that.
I definitely need to check out this show because I'm obsessed with horror. And so now I'm gonna have to check this
I
show
think
out
you'd
because I
really
haven't
like
heard
it.
of
Let me
it.
know what you think. Like, I think the first 2 episodes are currently out, but I think they're doing like 2 every other week or every week, not every other week. But
That's-
yeah,
Yeah,
very fun show.
I'm
Very
gonna
good.
check it out. Okay, so next question. If you could have any superpower, what superpower would you choose?
I guess for my gut says flying. Like, I always have the dream of being able to fly, but it's always in this like, I don't know if anybody experiences dreams like this. Like, you can do the ability, but not to its full extent. So I'm like flying, but it's like I can't fully get up. It's just this like, or like you experience a dream where you're like trying to run, but you can't run. Like, it's that kind of feeling. It's like, oh my God, I want to feel what it feels like to fly, but I can't do it completely. So flying would be pretty cool, I think. I think that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
DC versus Marvel. Who's your favorite?
I gotta go DC. Like, the Batman, Michael Keaton Batman was the one of the original, like one of the first movies I think I ever fell in love with, like, that I remember vividly falling in love with. I was like 3 when it came out, but I do have such vivid memories of being consumed by that Batman movie. Like, and he will always be my Batman. And we just watched Beetlejuice 2 last night again, or Beetlejuice last night again for like the second time. And like, just Keaton is one of my people fuck, or I'm sorry.
You can
People
say whatever
forget,
you want.
people forget about how great Michael Keaton is.
Mhm.
And like, I have definitely like forgotten how much he influenced me to become an actor. Like, it was Beetlejuice, it was Batman, it was all these things that shaped me when I was like such a young age, like
Mhm.
to want to be in front of a camera, you know? And so, yeah, he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore, Keaton.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely the best Batman by far.
Yes, agreed.
Definitely.
What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, the F word. I say it way too much.
You can say
I do say it sometimes where I'm just like, but you know what's very true? And I don't know if this is interesting or entertaining or anything, but it is my truth a bit. With my condition, spasmodic dysphonia, there are certain words because of the motor function of speaking and how we don't, most people that speak don't realize how incredible the mechanism of speech is, in the sense of like small vibrations, small mouth movements can emit a sound and create a word. It's really remarkable, and I probably know too much about, but there are words with my condition that are more difficult to say. And I know what those words are, but there's words that, like, I call them kind of like bridge words, in the sense that if I say a word before that difficult word, it's easier for me to kind of bridge into that word.
yeah.
And the F word is one of those, unfortunately. And so I catch myself sometimes, too many times, being like, all right, Shane, you gotta chill out. Like, and I say it sometimes that probably people think it's just like, they don't even realize like how many times I probably say it. I'm very conscious of it in like settings like this. Like, I caught myself, but like, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yes. Okay, let's see. You love horror. If you could be in any horror movie, which movie would you choose?
Oh man, that's a really good question. And there's so many. Trick or Treat is one of my favorite horror films. And they've been in development. And maybe this could be something above anything. There's a lot of things I would love to ask the Station 19 fans to campaign for me. Let me think
Ask
of 3
away.
things. I'm going to be selfish right now. I'm going to
Okay.
think of 3 things that you guys can push for me for. One of them would be to be in the Trick or Treat sequel because it's my favorite horror film. Michael Dougherty, the director, actually follows me on Instagram. So like that, something that I would love to have an opportunity at. I'd love to be involved in the WWE, and maybe not in the capacity of a wrestler, but maybe like a manager, a mouthpiece for somebody. That would be very fun. And I'd love to, when I was very, and I'm very lucky to have been cast in Star Wars, but one thing that they told me, which was very cool, was that they're like, we have good news, we have bad news. The bad news, which I'm like, there's no bad news. This is all good news that I'm going to be a part of Star Wars. But they're like, your face isn't going to be seen. I'm like, I get to be a stormtrooper. I don't care. But they're like, the good news is, in their eyes, is like, you can be brought back in the future as a face character, because we didn't see your face. So it's like,
Right.
that was like, oh, well, you shouldn't have said that. Now I want that too. So that's another thing too. I'd love to be brought back in like the Star Wars universe as like a face character. But Trick or Treat, the horror film that I'd love to be a part of.
It's such a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the first horror film that you saw as a kid?
Wow. Gremlins.
Oh.
Yeah. Gremlins. I remember being
I love
allowed to see it. And like, I think again, around that time of like Batman, I was like 3 or 4, but I remember it was, because if you go back, it's a little, it's heavy at some parts, especially
Oh,
like
yeah.
how it was marketed to children, like, there's a lot of things that were
Furry
marketed
little
to children, and
creatures. Yeah.
there was a lot of things that were marketed to children in the late 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. That's like, oh, is this for kids or made by weird adults that, anyways. But Gremlins was something I was so drawn to. It's one of my favorite like Christmas horror films. But yeah, that's definitely the first I remember seeing.
Awesome.
Gave us all nightmares as children. It was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite comedian?
Robin Williams, 100%. I mean, I'm definitely shaped by like a handful like that I was inspired by when I was younger. Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, heavily Jim Carrey. But after, like reflecting on my life, like I think Robin Williams is my biggest inspiration and somebody that I'm trying to like continually pull inspiration from, not model after and necessarily, because I think it's so important to create your own voice as an artist and as a comedian. But I loved his energy and his ability to just like get on stage with what seemed like he was pulling everything out of his head, just like off the top of his head. But if you go back and watch his work, it's like, no, he put a lot of work into that. But I do admire, and I try to do this with my stand up, especially lately, is like, okay, go up with like some prepared things, but then also just like let the audience and the universe guide you, and just, it's almost like a dance, just see where it takes you. And that's really what I'm trying to do, like him, because there's nobody I think that's ever done that like him, is just like really go on this like journey in his early work. I'd say his later stand up like was a bit more traditional, still amazing, but his early stand up, there's nothing like it. If you've never seen it, go back and watch one of his, I think it was his first stand up special. It was just magic. He would just like wander around the theater, and like there's like so many little celebrity cameos, like John Ritter was a part of it, and like it just really was, it's on YouTube, so go back and watch it if you haven't. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I have to check that out.
Definitely.
Who are some of your heroes in real life?
I have so many. I think that like there's so many people that shape you. My father, there's nobody I've met in my life that has, it's definitely where I get my maybe a little bit of workaholism, like, or like, but his work ethic, there's nobody I've met like it. And he just really instilled it, maybe sometimes in too much of an unhealthy like extent, like about how the importance of hard work, and like you only get what you work for. And but my mother, there's so many people that are like have shaped me and inspired me and like continue to do so. I think like you have to keep yourself open to meeting new people and new sources of inspiration and finding new heroes, and like Jaina, and there's all these people in my life that like I'm just so inspired by, and like, um, yeah, just always keep yourself open to meeting those new people.
Yeah. What do you want your legacy to be?
God, dude, what a question. I don't know. I think, like, truthfully, if I can create anything that kind of can stand the test of time and like entertain for generations in a way that, I mean, this is a random example, but it's like the first one that came to mind. Like a movie like Wizard of Oz, like still entertains people today. Like, what is it? 100? Has it been 100? No, not 100 years yet. I think it was made in the
Mhm.
40s. We're getting close. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but there's a million examples like that. If you can create something like a Wizard of Oz, jumping forward, for me, it's like Jurassic Park, like something that
Mhm.
Jurassic Park, um, they've made new ones since then, but it's the original. It's the one that still people watch all the time, and I watch it every time and feel the same things and new feelings, you know. And there's so many movies like that, but I want to create a movie. I want to create something that will have that impact, not for anything other than that reason of just like the magic that is. Like, I mean, that's art in general. Like it can be done through paintings, it can be done through music, but I believe either it's going to be my comedy or a film I create, but that's my art, and that's um what I want to create that can like just last something. I don't know what it is, but I hope that I get that opportunity. I will. Let's manifest it.
Well,
Yes.
it'll happen.
Yes.
It's happening. It's going to. Do you have a most prized possession? This is one of our favorite questions to ask. Yes.
My wife and my dog. Like, if anything happened to them, like,
Mm.
truthfully, like, I don't know what I would do. I don't know that I could exist in this earthly plane anymore. Past that, like, if it's a physical thing, like a something I can touch, the only thing that I always tell people is I have a fireproof safe in my home, and in it are like my childhood DV tapes that I've shot since I was, you know,
Oh
10
yeah.
years old on. Like,
Oh,
I need to digitize more of them. I digitized everything before I got this is getting really technical with film, but there was a transition from VHS, the big tapes, to like the little DV tapes.
many.
So anything
Yeah.
before me filming on a DV tape has been digitized, which is I'm very fortunate, and exists on multiple hard drives. But I've yet to digitize everything from years of little DV tapes. And so I have two fireproof boxes full of just like me 12 years old until 25, until I started shooting everything on like memory cards. But that would be the only thing that would be irreplaceable to me. And that's why they're in fireproof safes.
Safe.
Yeah, that's really cool
That's
that you
very
have.
smart, actually, to do
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would always urge people, if you're able to, if there is something like within the size of a fireproof safe, like do it. That's, if
Mhm.
it's important to you, just keep it safe.
Yeah.
Very neat.
What is your greatest fear?
I mean, I think not reaching my like full, I guess it's as hokey as it sounds, like not reaching my full potential, not really getting to showcase myself in the way that I believe that I can, whether it's on a comedy stage or creating a film or an acting role. Like, I feel like I've been so blessed on this journey. I know that I have, but like there is this very real feeling within me that like I'm heading towards what I've been working for so long. This is a never-ending journey, and there's a huge part of me that's learning that and having to come to terms with that. Is even when I think that I've reached that thing, whatever it may be, like being a part of SNL or working with the WWE, whatever it may be, that scratches that itch of this platform that I feel like I can showcase myself on this in this way that I feel like I need to. I don't know what it'll be, but I do know that I'm not there yet, and but I'm working towards it, and I feel like I'm getting close to it. And Yeah, but it's been a pretty rad journey so far.
Good. I think you are too. I think you're on the right track.
Thanks.
Let's see. Is there a quote from a movie that or it's something you say often, something you quote from a
That I
movie?
say often.
Yeah.
Um,
Or just it usually is like when someone's like quote a movie and it's like your go-to quote.
I think I quote Dumb and Dumber more than any movie. It's my favorite comedy. It's a comedy that never gets old to me. And I quote it probably more with my siblings than anybody, but like there's so many quotes from that movie are incredible, but like the one, and I literally have, let me show you. You can't really tell, but you might be able to. My sister made a neon little light up sign up
Oh
there for
yeah.
me, and it says big gulps, huh? Like that part of the movie where it's like outside the gas station. Big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later. Like just incredible. We say that all the time to each other. Like, but I think I probably quote that movie more than anything.
Like that.
This is a great movie.
It's so
Mhm.
good. All right. Let's see. If you could come back and live in any decade, which would it be?
The 90s. I want to relive the 90s every gosh dang day, especially with
Oh, good.
how the world is right now. I'm like, just take us back to simpler times. Like, you know, we there's like what blows my mind. Like, I'm not definitely not fishing to ask your ages, but what blows my mind is like the cultures that exist that never knew a time without a cell phone, you know? And it makes
Mhm.
us sound ancient to tell people like, oh yeah, I lived a life before my first iPhone. And then
Mhm.
I feel like that was the most significant change in our lifetime is the introduction of the iPhone. And how sadly we are I'm admittedly so dependent on it that I mean, anytime that we have uh outages, I mean, look how everyone in the world freaks out. Like that's scary. It's really scary. So I constantly, I mean, it's a practice that I'm constantly doing of just like we don't realize how many times we just like reach for our phone and we're not even thinking about it. That's scary. Like the addiction that we all have to these devices. And like, I miss a time. I miss a time that I can't even remember. It's a faint memory in the back of my head, but a time that was just so much quieter and it felt so much slower. It might not have been, but at least it feels like that in my memory. And gosh, I miss that time. And I always wonder, is like, will we ever get back to a time that is a little more simple? I know that we've turned a corner that we'll never be able to go back, but like, I don't know. Do you guys ever think we'll exist in a time where it might not be cell phones, but like there's all whatever the next, I don't know, where people kind of maybe reject technology. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
I
we
hope we
will.
go back simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope.
A good time. You just knew it
Mm-hmm.
was time to come home because the
The lights
lights
went
were
on.
on. Yeah,
The
like
street
Yep.
lights went
in
on.
dark, the street lights just came on. Like I probably should
Yeah.
head home now. And then you
Yeah.
had the night games. No one was home, like sitting there watching TV, glued to their electronics. They were just
Oh,
out playing.
the joy of like, oh, watching a TV show and then like, oh, next week's the next episode.
You
And
have to
it's
wait a
like
whole
Yeah.
week.
we had so much patience and getting to go and talk about the episode for a week with a friend and like and being okay with not needing to binge television it was just like there was a patience to the world. There was it just everything felt a little more at ease, and I do miss those times, you know. And I just, man, I miss the times where people at least seemed like there's always been violence and there's always been and there always will be, but like it seemed like everybody was a little more um patient with each other, you know?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
and I do miss those times and urge people to like remember like, hey man, I'm not preaching on here, but god dang, especially as we go into another political season here in the US, it's like we got to remember that they don't care about us. Politics aren't everything. Like you got to remember we're all in this together and we are not defined by who we vote for. Like that is just a small thing that used to not define everybody. And that's another thing I miss about like I feel like in the 90s it's like, "Oh, you voted Republican? Cool, whatever. You voted Democrat? Cool, whatever." and everybody was cool with whatever. Like, let's get back to being cool with whatever. Like, you know, like not everybody doesn't need to be so up in arms about like all the decisions that you make. Like, it doesn't matter. That's not what matters. Like, and there's something so much deeper at the core of being a human to what really matters. And I feel like we've lost it. And I think we've got to reconnect with that. Okay, I'm gonna get off the trend of the preach here. I did not mean to slip in that direction, but
Oh, no, we get what you were saying.
for more
Yeah.
conversations like this, listen to my podcast, Content with Shane Hartline.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, and I try to tell my kids, like, there was a time when you were playing your Nintendo, you could not save that. You would just play it. And
There was no pause.
Eyes
There
open,
was
Yeah.
and
You had one game
Yeah.
like that you rented from a store, and that you that was the only game. Like, that's another thing, like with content right now, that I get very overwhelmed with very easily, is like, it takes me sometimes 20, 30 minutes on Netflix to pick a movie. Sometimes I don't, because I'm so overwhelmed with how many choices I have.
Mhm.
Like, I miss the days of like, oh, you go to a video store, like you get one choice, and gosh, you watch that movie 2 or 3 times, you know,
Yeah.
like simpler times, man. But what's
Petition to
funny
bring
is
it
like
back.
the generations before us said the same thing about the generation before them. He's like, we yearn for simpler times, and the generations will say the same things about this. It's like, these are
Yep.
the simple times that in 20 years they're going to be wishing they could go back to. And that's kind of scary. And that's a perspective we need to remind ourselves, you know?
I like that. It
Yeah.
was a good time. And you had a #1 music video in the 90s, right? Perfect Girl.
Yeah, it
was-
was, well, I didn't, this band For the Boys, I'm a huge fan of them, but yeah, Perfect Girl is out there. It re-released it. It's pretty cool.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Another random idea that, like, you know, just very much a tangent of my usual content that people probably were like, wait, what is this? That like, just like, I just have this idea and I have to see it through. And I have a friend that has like a record label, and I'm like, let's all make this and see what happens. And yeah, it was just so fun to shoot.
That was such a good time. I just laughed
Thanks.
through the whole thing. It was
I
great.
laugh when like
Thank you.
I saw online some of the younger fans were like going to YouTube and like, Shane was in a band. I'm like,
Are you serious? Then it did exactly what
it
I
did
was
exactly
hoping.
what it was doing. Yep.
Yep.
That's
So I'm
great.
pretty sure I'm the oldest one here in this group, but like it's funny because just to see what some of their comments are. It's crazy.
That's amazing. That's so
It
fun.
was awesome.
Yeah. What do you collect anything? That's one question we ask all the guests.
Just the tears of my victims. No, I definitely am very nostalgic for anything from my childhood. Like, I definitely don't have the space to collect some of the things I want to collect right now. I definitely have a little collection next to me right now of, it's funny, I have a glass case, and one level is like trick or treat memorabilia, like anything with like Sam, the trick or treat character that I see that I don't have, I usually collect. Past that, it's like little toys or trinkets from my childhood. I also like, I got invited to a retro video game convention recently, and seeing sealed games from my childhood is really cool to me. So I got one, and I'm like, oh, this could turn into a very deadly collection. But I just constantly have to, like, yeah, I don't have the space or the means right now to really dive into a deep collection of anything, but I watch a lot of people who on YouTube that collect the things I want to collect. So I live kind of vicariously through those people.
Mm-hmm. Good.
It still blows my mind that there's people out there that have unwrapped or not. How am I trying to say that? That's a game that's still wrapped from however
Things
long
like that they find on like eBay that are like, you know, there's a lot of people that reseal things, but when you can, when it's like proven to be still a wrapped video game from even the 90s,
from day
that's
one,
boggling to me.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Crazy.
Cool though.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we have taken a lot of your day, and we know that
Oh
you're
man,
very busy man. So we just
Anytime I
wanna
get to talk about myself, come on.
But we're so grateful you came on. Is there, before you leave, is there anything that you can tell us about with your upcoming projects? I know you've got a lot of comedy shows you're doing right now and your
Mhm.
content page that they can go follow, but tell us a little bit more about what you've got going on right now.
Yeah, you know, after we wrap, still happening. Content with Shane Hartline is a podcast, or I call it a podcast, but I'm really trying to make it more of a conglomeration of all content, a little bit of a like a vlog, a little bit of a documentary, a little bit of a podcast. So I'm really excited about that and what it will become, but it's still at the beginning. So definitely want to urge people to like go support that. But past that, I really think like I've been trying to look forward. It's hard for me to like look forward to, you know, what I want to do even next year. I'm very much a person of like what's happening right now.
Mhm.
But I think like my big goal next year is either one of two things, like to make my first feature, which is a very hard thing to do, but will by kind of whatever means necessary, or make like three really good shorts again, back to back. The last short that I made that I put a lot into was Cookie, which is a short film that's on YouTube. It's about my neurological condition. But I think next year, like I was like, all right, I see what I was able to do with this amount of money that we were able to raise. What if I was able to take like even that amount of money or even a little bit less and make like three shorts back to back and whatever I wanted them to be, whatever I wanted to, if I wanted to play a certain role or like, you know, do a script I've been sitting on for some time. So I think like that's what I want to do. So I'm currently in this like process amongst a lot of other really fun things that I can't talk about right now, but like, um, one of the long-term things I want to do is I'm trying to decide what I want to create next year and then start laying the groundwork for that. And like, you know, whether if it's shorts, then try to get them into some festivals or whether it's a feature, just it's figuring out what that next big project is. But that's what's to come.
Very exciting. Well, for
Mhm.
everyone watching, make sure you go follow at Content with Shane on the socials, and there's lots of funny stuff there. I love it. You do a great
Thank
job.
you.
It's so
Thank
much
you.
fun. It's super refreshing humor, and if you're in LA, it sounds like you're in LA. Is it next
Yeah.
weekend that you're doing a show?
I'm doing I have a couple shows coming up, but like shanehartline.com, you can always see my tickets and stuff and or all the details on all my comedy shows. But like the next big show I'm pushing, I don't know when this comes out, is October 24th. I'm doing that Scott Stapp show at UCB, which I'm really excited about. And it's a night before my birthday, so I'm trying to use that to guilt people to come. So
Yeah, it's an early birthday party.
yep.
Oh, that's great. Well, and you're amazing. Thanks for joining us today
You
and
guys are.
hanging
This
out
was
with
so
us.
fun.
Oh, well, thank you. It
Thank
was
you.
such a pleasure. We have created, a group of us created some of these little fan custom trading cards, and you sound like
Oh
a
my
right
God.
into trading cards. So we're gonna send you a pack if that's okay, of just like
Please.
some cool
Well,
little,
Jaina already has a pack, so we don't want her to be the only one.
yeah. So we'll
No,
ship those to you.
if I don't get one of those packs, I'm going to be very disappointed. So
Yes,
yes,
yes.
And
please,
we'll
I will
have,
take it.
yeah, we'll make sure one of our artists in the group for the next series does a Maddox card. So we'll have to
Oh,
get
I
some. I'm
love it.
kind of
I'll
thinking
give you
to,
guys a little teaser of some stuff. So,
yeah.
you know, we're doing like a lot of giveaways and stuff with the After We Rap podcast. But we're doing them, you know, on the Instagram and like kind of urging people to like and comment and that kind of thing. But I'm also doing random giveaways on the after party. But I want to tease a little something we're giving away
Yes.
here shortly on the After We Wrap Instagram. So the only way to like find out about like these giveaways is through that. So backstory on this before we wrap this up. Jaina has all this amazing Station 19 merch. It's like mind blowing. But one of the things that like really blew my mind that she was like, yeah, here, use this as a giveaway. I don't even know if anybody wants me to like reveal this yet, but okay. So this will be given away soon. And I don't know how we're going to do it, but it'll be through our Instagram. So follow the After We Wrap Instagram. So it's like, okay, so it's inside here. It's a very custom, dude, it's a custom Station 19 Apple Watch.
Oh my gosh, that's
That's
Okay.
crazy.
So
cool.
Yeah.
support
There you
After
go.
We Wrap. The only way to get this will be by supporting After We Wrap.
Yeah. Go follow them. Go follow and keep an eye out. for the giveaways.
Yeah, keep an eye out. That'll be the next thing we're giving away, probably this coming week, actually. So
Exciting. Well, that's so fun.
super exciting. Yeah.
You've been a
Thank you guys so
pleasure.
much. Let's do this again soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds great. And we'll just be supporting you in the background, and we'll get started on those petitions to bring back Maddox.
Bring
When
back
we
Yeah,
got
Maddox.
yeah. And to give me the
Hashtag.
WWE and to
SNL,
All of them.
all the
SNL,
things. Yeah.
all these things. Sounds great. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank
Shane.
you.
you.
Have a good
See
weekend,
ya.
Shane.